Hi, so I'm Rebecca Trampe, and for my final presentation of the semester, I have chosen to reflect all that I've learned on Italy and their food and their drink and how much they view it as a delicacy and they take a lot of pride in it. So, the first thing that I decided to talk about was coffee. So, there is a thing called suspended coffee, and this originated in Naples, and it is just the concept that someone will pay for an extra coffee in a cafe and then they will give it to someone who is in need. And this symbolizes helping others and also reflects Italian values. And it started to be originated around the time of World War One because or World War Two, sorry, because lots of people were in a time of hardship. And on the next slide, I will explain the significance of this image. And ever since then, this idea has grown in popularity, especially in the United States today. You guys might have heard of paying it forward with a coffee in the line at Starbucks. Well, it actually has a much deeper meaning. The tradition has also spread to places like Britain, and Starbucks also participated in this charity. And it's just the concept, once again, of giving without expecting anything in return. And it embodies the Italian values of having a good reputation through one person's deeds. So the background and history on this is that there was a writer who said when a Neapolitan is happy, for some reason he decides to order a coffee to give a stranger because it is like offering a coffee to the rest of the world. And in coffee shops around the world and across the city in Naples, baristas would keep a book which will keep a record of all the people who have prepaid coffees. Um, and sometimes to attract customers to let them know that what is happening in this cafe, they would tape receipts to the window so that people passing by who are in need can see that it was available. This is the name of the cafe that this trend is most popular and that it participates in. And like I said on the previous slide, there was a big coffee pot and it is a holding place for all of the receipts. There's multiple languages taped on the outside so that tourists can come and see what this is all about. So if you ever visit, just ask for a cafe sos peso and you'll be given 2 receipts. You're supposed to hand one to the barista and then drop the other one in the coffee pot so that whoever fishes it out will get to receive your good deed. And this was the name of the Neapolitan who wrote that quote. The next thing I decided to talk about is called a pour kitchen. So this is a traditional cooking style and it evolved using locally sourced ingredients. And this became popular whenever people had economic turmoil once again around the time of World War II. But the positive of this is that it ended up demonstrating people's creativity because they had to use what was available to them in their homes already, which would usually be inexpensive ingredients, but they were still able to create healthy and flavorful meals. So some dishes that they created is Tuscan bread soup, fritters, and pasta e fagioli. They are, once again, like I said, simple pantry items, and they are passed down through generations, but they do vary by region. It reflects the ingenuity and resilience. It is a humble and sustainable practice because they can even use every part of the animal, even parts that in America we're not as used to, like eyes and livers, stuff like that. And sometimes this concept can be foreign to us because in America we have a huge supply of food when it comes to the big grocery stores and supermarkets, whereas in Italy, local markets and at a smaller scale where people can buy just what they need and not things in bulk and in excess like at Costco. And if you want to partake in this Italian style of using just what you need, just focus on buying less. And then on the next slide, right here, I have included some examples of things that are in classic Italian pantries. So you can have things like canned tomatoes. These serve as a great base for sauces, canned fish, homemade breadcrumbs, because why go to the store and buy some when you can make some yourself? That would be equivalent to like buying water at the store when you do have it readily available at your house usually. Fresh bread is also something common that Italians keep in their pantry. Beans and cornmeal. Some examples would be garbanzo beans. Olive oil, obviously that's commonly used on salads and for cooking. Vinegar, garlic, dry pastas, cheese, and then sun-dried tomatoes. And then these are all some examples where these food items are used. The next thing I decided to talk about is wine. So there is a traditional Tuscan wine, and it's made by slowly cooking the juice of the freshly harvested grapes in these big vats, and it results in a thick syrup. And the image is on the top. Once the grapes are harvested, the juice is boiled to concentrate the flavors, and then they are then transported to wooden barrels. They are fermented to create a sweet and rich drink, which can be enjoyed with desserts and cheeses. It is an ancient practice that is mostly forgotten today, which I said that is what I wanted to focus on in my presentation, things that tourists might not be as commonly known about. And this ties to the agricultural cycles and deep connections between Italy and their land and their pride for their food. It represents a time when nothing went to waste, all parts of the harvest were used, like I said, and it is a local symbol of their lifestyle and their craftsmanship. So today, this wine dates all the way back to the ancient traditions which originated in the Roman times. They started to begin making them in rural farmhouses, and it was used to celebrate their harvest. It can be enjoyed straight after a meal or in small amounts over ice, but it's also used in cooking, so you can drizzle it over drizzle it over roasted pears, cakes, and then it can also be used to enhance the flavor of the meats, which is seen in this picture down here. It can be used on steak or even small birds, and also as a sauce reduction. And then these bottles can be given as gifts during the holidays because it represents their artisanal nature, and it's also a cherished item in their local heritage. So the next thing I want to talk about is the sagres, which are festivals, and this is a way to combine the last two things I talked about, like coffee and wine. So this is a way that Italians can come together and enjoy the fruits of their labor. So in small Italian villages, there are local festivals which are dedicated to celebrating a particular food or product from the region, and this is commonly done in Naples. So they could celebrate things like truffles, chestnuts, wine, and even polenta, and they're communal events where people can come together and they will have food, music, and dancing, sometimes even pageants and contests. It will celebrate their pride in the local produce and allows them to enjoy the fruits of their labor. There are culinary traditions which foster the social bonds and preserve their heritage, which they believe in. They like slow food, so that means that they like to view food as a delicacy instead of something that is rushed. They like to slow down, take their time, view as a craft, and allow other people to also have an enjoyable experience. Sometimes these will coincide with religious festivals, like a town's patron saint, so then you're going to combine food with also religion. And then these can also become educational experiences, so you could talk about hunting truffles, the recipes from generations, and learn about how other people have unique heritages as well. And then you also have a chance to taste these and sample all the products from different families. And so it just becomes a good way to bring the community together. So these are bustling activities where the streets will be lined with stalls and vendors. You can sample the traditional foods and also the featured ingredients. Like I said, the recipes are passed down through generations. Folk plays will happen, historical reenactments, parades, competitions, and also popular dances like the Taranella, pageants, cooking contests, grape stomping, olive picking, and truffle hunting. This is a way that you can show appreciation towards people that don't always get seen in the spotlight. So this also brings an economic boost to people like artisans and farmers. And some examples happen in Calabria, which showcases red onions, and then there's also another one that will showcase red peppers. So to tie this all together with the festivals, the food, the wine, and the coffee, I was inspired after we visited the California Food Academy and also got to see Don Pasta. And so I wanted to do my final presentation on food traditions and things that tourists aren't as knowledgeable about because things are passed through generations. So whenever us tourists are walking down the street and we see these little shops where you just eat cacio e pepe and lasagna on the cobblestone streets, you're not going to know about the heritage, culture, and tradition behind the food you're eating. And then, like I said, I was inspired by people like Don Pasta because he said that food is a cultural expression of the Italian culture. And lastly, I wanted to debunk some stereotypes on Italian food and drink. So sometimes they can be viewed as being slow, especially when they're making this food, but that isn't always true. They just choose to value their quality over the speed of which they make the food. They take pride in their agricultural products. They just want to be skilled, respectful, and keep to the tradition. Next is sometimes they can be viewed as seeing very passionate about wine, but in reality, wine is just seen as a drink to be had with dinner or with food. It's not normally a standalone beverage like we would have sometimes in the States, and Italians are just very passionate about their wine because it varies from region to region, so they love to show it off. Sometimes people think that these festivals, like the Sagres, are oversimplified, but in reality, the pride comes from the authenticity of the festivals instead of how often that they occur, and it's just a way to showcase how Italians are connected to their land, and once again, they take pride in it. And then the last one is coffee can be an obsession, which it isn't about the drink itself, but it can rather be about the social interaction and the ritual. Since the country is home to popular brands like the Lavazza, espresso is a symbol of the efficiency and the quality. And then here are my sources. Thank you.